Okay. So first, how did you get involved with youth communications?
Okay, at my foster care agency, there are a lot of magazines. These magazines. And I saw a girl flip through it, and she goes, "Oh, I wrote for this magazine before." And then I want to be a journalist. So as soon as she said that, my head snapped, and I was like, "You wrote for a magazine? If you can write for a magazine, then so can I." Represent. It taught me how to go out there and find the information for yourself.
Represent came along in the early 90s, and when Represent cover started over here, behind those boxes. Yeah, I think 1993 was the first year. The idea was that if you were in foster care in high school and wanted to write, that this would be a place where you would be among peers who really understood what your issues were, who you could speak very freely and openly, and they started to expose some things in the system that were bad, that were dangerous, that were abusive. What we try to do is teach the process of writing. So it's not just, a lot of people come here and they think it's like high school. They think it's like you do one draft, one revision, you get some edits from your teacher, and then you're done. Here they might do 10 drafts, they might do 20 drafts, they might be working on a story for a period of months. So it's really a labor of love because they're not getting compensated for the number of hours that they're doing. It's really just because they're excited about being published, they're excited about sharing their experience with someone else who might benefit or be comforted from hearing about it.
Represent helped me it emphasized how helpful research can be, because the foster care agencies, they're not the best. They have their flaws, they have their strengths. And at the time when I came into Represent, I was focused on the flaws because that's what I was dealing with personally. So Autumn sent me on a reported story mission with my little tape recorder and my writer's notepad, and I had to go out and interview lawyers and youth advocates and child specialists and stuff to get information as to what are what's the criteria for foster parents and what are they supposed to do, what rights do us as foster children have. And I got laid out documents. And I didn't know there were documents laid out as to the requirements. So when I realized I was not getting everything, I took a highlighter and I highlighted everything. And I went to my foster mother. I said, "Okay, this isn't what you're not giving me." I didn't do it just like that. I did it more respectful. But I say that to say, Represent. It taught me how to go out there and find the information for yourself. I've always known that, but it emphasized it. All of my energy, putting all my energy into these essays to try to get into this program, because I figured this would be my stepping stone to becoming a journalist. I'm starting early, and it's mediocre. It's cool, it will look nice on a resume. So I put my heart into it, and I got in. I got accepted. So I put on my little professional clothes my first day. I think if the other foster kids actually went out and looked for these kind of things, then they can find it. Because I went out and I looked. I heard about things, and I went out and I spoke to the people, and I kept calling. When they never answered, I showed up at the door, everything.
Do you have any ideas of what your dream is as a journalist? Like if you want to work for the newspaper or a magazine?
I always wanted to be on TV. But in the beginning, my motivation for being a broadcast journalist was so superficial. It had nothing to do with loving the news or just loving to learn about something new, It only had to do with glamour, and Autumn had to quickly drill into me that journalism is not all glamorous as I think it is, Autumn took us to the New York Times and we spoke to a reporter there, and he was telling us about how he went to Haiti and he saw, all the poverty-stricken people and all this kind of stuff. And his story really, it struck me. It did leave an impact on me, made me feel like I would love to go to foreign places and report about life over there. And when I hear things that are unjustified, I get passionately angry as if it's me. And I feel like as a journalist, I can report about these things and help the community to be aware of it.
I would say, first and foremost, it brings the writers a space to have free expression, to be themselves, to decide who they want to be and not who someone else wants them to be. Because you have to realize that when you're in foster care, you may not have access to your family. That may not even be a relationship that you want to be a part of. The system is all about money. Yes, you may have caring people around you who are trying to look after your best interests, but they also have a job to do, and their job is to make sure you're kind of staying between the lines. Same with foster parents. They're just some of them are wonderful people, but some of them, unfortunately, are mainly interested in the money that comes with it. It's empowering to be the person who gets to ask the questions instead of the person who's just answering the questions all the time and being accountable to all these adults. Guess what? Someone has to hold the adults accountable too. And as a teenager or a young adult, you often have insights into things that are really important that the adults miss. And so if we don't have student press and we don't have opportunities for youth media, that's a really important perspective that's going to get missed. So yeah. It also gives them a way to relate to their peers in foster care in a way that's not about foster care. It's also about their identity as writers, and that's something really important to them. I'm not just a foster child, I am a writer. And, I'm an artist, and I'm all of these things that are positive and affirming and not just about, being separated from family.
I got pretty lucky because a lot of the stories I hear about people in the foster care system, they're horror stories. And I don't have a horror story, to tell you the truth. I mean, I have one, which is in the other issue, but it's nothing compared to what the other kids have gone through. I think if I didn't go to the New York Times that day, I wouldn't ever feel this way because I never really thought about international journalism, ever. I just thought about looking pretty on camera. And I now realize it's not at all about that. It really isn't. I was also thinking about becoming an entertainment journalist, like on E! Hollywood or something. Why? Because it seems fun. I don't really have a substantial reason as to why entertainment. But international seems impressive. I know I would have to learn a third language, well, a second language. That's going to be really difficult. But, I'm willing to do it. And what scares me about journalism is that I know it's so competitive. It's competitive, and every time I tell someone I want to be a journalist, they're like, oh, are you ready for that? And it scares me, but I'm going to try, and hopefully I'll make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.